Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Worcester City Council this March 18th, 2019. It's after 7:30 p.m. The next meeting will be Monday, appropriately April 1st, 2019. So happy April Fool's Day then. I guess you're not Mr. Paulo, so our law director, Mr. Scavelli, is filling in. If you would, please call the roll.
Yes, Mr. President, it's Mr. Ansel.
Here.
Mr. Pastanzik.
Here.
Mr. Cavan.
Here.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Mr. Sanders.
Here.
Mr. Silvestri.
Here.
And Ms. Warden.
Here.
We have a full complement of council. We have a quorum as a result. The agenda will remain as presented, and at this time I would ask you to join the City Council in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the March 4th, 2019 council meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Silvestri. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Ansel. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The meeting minutes of March 4th are approved. Welcome, Mayor. It's your time to shine here, sir.
Thank you, President Beitendijk and council members. Nice to see everyone this evening. Just a short report tonight. One of the things that you find on your agenda is concerning our bike trails in and around the city and in the county. And we have some folks from our bike trail committee, a steering committee that we put together about 5 years ago here with us tonight. Mr. Kirk Holmes is over here and is one of the co-presidents of the mission of the bike trail. And then Christopher Bueller here is the other co-president, and they're both here to hopefully speak to this tonight or enlighten you as to what we're trying to do. And then Brian Gwynn over there is also part of the Bike Trail Committee and has been for a while. And Mr. Myers has been a part of our Bike Trail Committee over the years here too. So those are the folks that have been working hard behind the scenes to try to put things together. This is more concerning the trail outside of Worcester that we're trying to connect to some of the regional trails in our area. The closest spur of one of those is down in Fredericksburg, Ohio, and that's the Rails to Trails trail that is going to go eventually from Cleveland, Ohio to Cincinnati, and it's called the Ohio Erie Trail. So that's what we're going to be talking to you about tonight, and these gentlemen will be helping enlighten you. But it's a great project. It will tie into and complement the trails we have inside the city. So we're hoping you'll see merit in bringing that forward. Just wanted to also say that there was an article, at least online, in the Daily Record about our Freelander Chalet. Tammy Moser and Mike Schenk came up and visited with us at the end of last week and sort of took some pictures and a little bit of a story about the Freelander Chalet. And so hopefully you'll find that interesting, and we thank the Daily Record for that exposure. I think it highlights one of our facilities that is something we should be proud of and are fixing up and getting back into public use. And lastly, another award came in. This one was really out of the blue, but it's a compliment to the city, but also and mainly the College of Worcester. Bill Phelan, CEO and co-founder of College Factual, a free website that helps students find their best college fit by analyzing and reporting on thousands of data points. College Factual's 2019 Best College ranking has found Worcester to be one of the best places in the country for students seeking a high-quality education. A recent analysis by higher education data firm College Factual found Worcester to be one of the best cities in the nation for students pursuing undergraduate degrees. They analyzed over 3,000 U.S. schools, and the College of Worcester is ranked number 233 in the country and number 7 in the state of Ohio. So a real compliment to the college and to our community for being one of better places to go for undergraduate education. So with that, we're here to help in any discussions tonight, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to petitions. There is a petition for liquor permit that is dealing with a change of ownership. That if you would please, Mr. Scavelli, read the particulars on that.
One moment. The permit holder name is Chasers Drive-Thru Limited, doing business as Chasers Drive-Thru. The address is 2557 Cleveland Road, Worcester, Ohio. And I apologize, what other information do you need for that?
Oh, I think the permit classes are C1, C2, D6.
Okay.
And it looks like the present owners have sold it, and hence the new owner is applying to have it placed to reflect the fact that the individual, Nicholas McKinley, is now a sole member of an LLC that owns it, so. Anyways.
Transferring from the Higgs.
Yes. So as you know, we can request a hearing either here in the county seat down in Columbus, or waive the hearing altogether. Is there a preference?
Motion to waive hearing, Mr. President.
Motion to waive by Mr. Ansel, second by Mr. Myers. Would you call the roll on the motion to waive the hearing?
Yes, Mr. Ansel.
Yes.
Mr. Bostancic.
Yes.
Mr. Cavan.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Sanders.
Yes.
Mr. Silvestri.
Yes.
Ms. Warden.
Yes.
So if you would, make a note for
Yes.
Mr. Paulo to
I am.
send a note to waive the hearing. Not that you don't have anything to do, so I won't ask you. That brings us to the communications from the public, and I see two members of the Critchfield firm here to speak on the vacation of the alley. So first one is Mr. Chris Pycraft. Chris? If you would come up to the podium here and state your name and address, please.
Thank you, President Buitendijk. Chris Pycraft, 225 North Market Street, Worcester, Ohio. Here mostly for a training exercise. We think the alley vacation is a straightforward thing within the purview of the council, and it's on the agenda for later this evening, so nothing to add.
Are you training us or someone else?
I'm training my colleague Cam Hilling.
Okay.
We'll be seeing you guys again in the near future. Thank you.
And then Mr. Cam Helling, do you wish to add anything else?
I have nothing to add, I just want to introduce myself to everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Nice to meet you. And then, is it Brian?
Did you sign up to speak, Brian?
Oh, I just signed the sign.
Yeah, he will speak on the bike trail at the time.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
So that concludes the portion from communications from the public. I don't think we have any committee reports, and there are no public hearings. We went through all our legislation, so it's on new business, and the first reading is ordinance number 2019-07, which deals with the alley vacation. If you would, Mr. Scavelli, please read the title.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ordinance number 2019-07, an ordinance vacating an unnamed alley running a northeast direction in the city of Worcester from Bell Avenue to the southeast corner of lot 665 and the northeast corner of lot 652.
Okay, Mr. Bostancic, it's your your ordinance. It's slated for 3 readings. I turn the floor over to you.
Okay, thank you. The City of Worcester has received a petition from the lots that are on either side of part of an alley, which is directly across, it's down the southern end of Bell Avenue and directly across from the brewery. If you're not familiar with this alley, it's actually a continuation of the alley that goes on the north side of the brewery, crosses Bell, and then continues on east. It's a 20-foot length. They requested that the city vacate the alley. All of the owners of any of the property on either side of the part of the alley that was to be vacated have signed a petition stating that this is what they wish. The city police department has looked at this and has okayed this as not being a public hazard to vacate this, as well as the fire department. And Roger and City Engineering has also said there's really no public utilities involved in this at all either, so he has no problem with this vacating of the alley. The city has determined that they are satisfied there is good cause for vacating this alley, and is proposing that city council approve this. Any questions, comments?
That was going to be my question, comment, whether or not safety services would be impacted.
No.
And you had said that you did speak with Chief Saley.
I did not speak to the chief, I speak to Roger, and he's told me that the
Okay,
police department had.
There was an email sent out, Mr. Cabot.
okay.
I always look at, that's one less strip of roadway that the city has to maintain. To me, that's always a good thing.
That's a rough alley.
Do you have a motion for it?
If there are no opposition, I'd like to take this as third and final.
All right. Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Bostancic. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Silvestri. Would you please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Ansel.
Yes.
Mr. Cavan.
Yes.
Ms. Warden.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Sanders.
Yes.
Mr. Silvestri.
Yes.
Mr. Bostancic.
Yes,
Well, the rules are suspended, and I turn to you again, Mr. Bostancic.
thank you. I move to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Bostancic. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Silvestri. Any further discussion? Last chance to run up the property owner's bill by giving the Critchfield firm the third degree there.
I have one final, I mean, if we're just throwing things out there, I don't know. Do you plan to close that, turn it into a parking lot, or do you have any idea of what the usage might be?
The immediate use will stay as it is. It can only be, because there are existing utilities underground, they won't be displaced. They're not public, but there are utilities that run through that space.
Okay,
So it has to be either paved or it can be used for green space. The idea being that the same property owner owns the lot north and south of that alley. And so the idea is to have a continuous design for that redevelopment.
okay,
And so it'll either be paved for parking or it'll be green space, one or the other.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Seeing none, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Mr. Ansel.
Yes.
Mr. Cavan.
Yes.
Ms. Warden.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Sanders.
Yes.
Mr. Silvestri.
Yes.
Mr. Bostancic.
Yes,
Ordinance number 2019-07 passes. Now we'll turn our attention to Resolution 2019-23. It'll be presented by Mr. Myers. It too is slated for 3 readings, but I will allow Mr. Scavelli to exercise his pipes again to read the title.
All right. Let's see. One moment. Sorry, still new at this. I have it right here.
Or you just read the title.
Yes. All right. Resolution number 2019-23, a resolution amending Resolution 2016-49, bicycle route resolution.
All right, Mr. Myers, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, President Beitendijk. This one's a little bit of a more routine type change. This is separate from the issue that we're going to be addressing here shortly. This is the kind of an east-west route that's been designated by the state of Ohio. Originally, when we approved this route, it was called USBR 40. This is simply changing the designation to USBR 44. There's a long legal description with about 6 or 8 whereases, which I will not read, but you have it before you, and you have a map that shows the route in some detail, but not a lot. If you have any questions about this, just let me know what they are. This one is, I'm going to go ahead and ask to pass it this evening because we've already reviewed and passed this once. It's literally a name change. It cannot be amended. It is from the state. So if there are questions, I'll take those at this time.
Sounds like a housekeeping
Yeah,
type of
I
resolution.
didn't think there would be, but I'd like to move to put this on third and final reading this evening.
Okay. Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Myers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Silvestri. Would you please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Mr. Cavan,
Yes.
Ms. Warden,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Mr. Silvestri,
Yes.
Mr. Bostancic,
Yes.
Mr. Ansel.
Yes.
The rules are suspended. Mr. Myers?
Motion to adopt, please.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Myers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Warden. Any further discussion? I don't think it warrants any. That being said, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Mr. Cavan,
Yes.
Ms. Warden,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Mr. Silvestri,
Yes.
Mr. Bostancic.
Yes.
Mr. Ansel.
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 2019-23 passes. That brings us to our last piece of legislation, resolution number 2019-24. It'll be presented by Mr. Myers. Again, it is earmarked for 3 readings. If you would, Mr. Scavelli, one last time this evening.
Yes.
Read the title, please.
Resolution number 2019-24, a resolution authorizing the necessary funds for the construction of signage for the bike trail connection from the city of Worcester to the Ohio Erie Trail and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Myers, it's my pleasure to yield the floor to you, sir.
Thank you so much. As the mayor stated earlier, there are several folks from the Wayne Trails Committee here this evening. This is basically funds to provide signage for the route so that it can be a designated route. Our committee, and I think many community members as well as the Ohio State University, has expressed an interest in at some point trying to get this bike path off the main roads and onto a dedicated bike trail. That will take obviously some doing and some time. This is kind of a first step to designate a route. It will help with safety so that traffic, when we put up the signs, hopefully cars will recognize the fact that there'll be bikes to be watching for them. It may even encourage bikers that are headed to Fredericksburg to utilize this route versus others because there's always safety in numbers, and if cars are alerted to it, it should be much safer. I know the biking community, through Bill down at Ride-On, has expressed some interest in doing a cleanup to make sure that debris and things that are along the path or the roadways would not be hazardous to bikes as well. So there's a lot of community effort and support behind this. As I mentioned, Christopher Bueller and Kurt Holmes, as well as Brian Gwynn, are on the committee and here to support this evening. If you have hard questions, I think those are the people you should direct them to. But if you do have any questions at this time, do either of you like to make a statement or just here to answer questions? Okay. Does anyone from City Council have any questions for the bike trail regarding the signage?
Seems pretty straightforward, and I think
Just trying to drag it out. It's a really short meeting, you know.
$3,000 is a modest sum to aid in a longer vision project and with safety in mind that this might provide. Mr. Sylvester?
Just a couple of questions. If the path were moved away from the roadway, who would bear that cost? Are there plans for that?
The Bike Trail Committee, and by the way, thank you for asking. The Bike Trail Committee actually has a fund at the Wayne County Foundation, so any contributions from anybody are welcome. The committee intends to raise their own funds. Obviously, there's some right-of-ways and easements that would be required. The signs that we're approving tonight would be then moved to that
Okay.
off-road path, so there would be not additional expense incurred in that. I have met with County Engineer Scott Miller. The Wayne Trails Committee will be financially responsible for the signs, so if somebody takes one out with a car, our group with our private funds will replace it. My guess is we'd go back to the Public Properties Division, but pay them to make another one as we are this time. So we're going to be responsible for those as we go forward. Just so you know, though, we have met with the county engineers, Chuck Malta, and I also met with each of the township trustees meetings. We went to Worcester, Franklin, and Salt Creek Township meetings. First for preliminary approval and questions. Second, we went back with a route map and sign placements marked on the map. And they have both, all townships have approved this at a regular meeting and have it in their meeting minutes. Because Mr. Malta was unable to be here this evening, and he's been very instrumental in working with the committee, he did send me a statement to read. I don't know that we need this support. I think everybody's pretty in favor, but since he asked me, I'm going to read this because he watches these meetings on television. This is from Chuck Malta, Worcester Parks and Recreation, retired, 37-year service. One of his biggest regrets, per Chuck, one of my biggest regrets is that we did not do more to connect parks to all areas of the city with bike trails. I am elated that the city and bike committee have made great progress with Worcester City bike trails. Now we have an opportunity to connect Worcester with the Fredericksburg Trail. Not only will this be potentially positive economic impact for Worcester, it will also begin Worcester's connection with a statewide bike trail that will connect from Cleveland to Cincinnati. I urge council to pass this legislation in order to begin the process. Is there any questions this evening? We have a lot of people here with answers, and there's no question. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to move this to third and final reading.
Okay.
The
Second.
To suspend the rules. Who seconded it?
John.
John? I didn't see you. You're hiding behind Mr. Salonis. Seconded by Mr. Ansel. Would you please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Bostancic,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Mr. Silvestri.
Yes.
Ms. Warden,
Yes.
Mr. Ansel,
Yes.
Mr. Cavan.
Yes.
Okay, the rules are suspended. Again, I look to you, Mr. Myers.
Motion to adopt resolution number 2019-24, please.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Myers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Silvestri. Any further discussion? Worthy project. Seeing none, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Mr. Bostancic,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Mr. Silvestri,
Yes.
Ms. Warden,
Yes.
Mr. Ansel,
Yes.
Mr. Cavan.
Yes.
Resolution number 2019-24 passes. That brings us to miscellaneous, and I'm going to start at Mr. Bostancic end and work down to Mr. Cavan. So you'll have the first word in miscellaneous.
Okay, thank you. The only thing I need to discuss is I would like to schedule a infrastructure committee meeting. We're looking at April 15th at 6:30. And I have to see how that would be for David and Scott. That Dave?
I believe that works, yeah. It's before the regularly scheduled
Okay.
council meeting.
Yeah. Purpose is to review a pending infrastructure project and perhaps reallocating some funds.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
What time?
6:30, the 15th.
Next day. Next day.
Mr. Sanders,
Nothing to add, Mr. President.
Mr. Ansel.
No happy spring on Thursday.
Hopefully it was a happy St. Patrick's Day yesterday.
It was.
Mr. Myers.
I think I've said enough. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Silvestri.
Thank you for all those involved with our bike trail project. Thank you for coming. I tried to direct a question your way, but Mr. Myers had all the answers. So thank you so much for attending.
Ms. Warden.
I have nothing to add, thank you.
Mr. Cavan.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned by Mr. Cavan, seconded by Mr. Ansel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.